Remember when Donald Trump said that line in his debate with Kamala Harris about Springfield, Ohio, and the target he put on the backs of Haitians in the name of white supremacy?
If I have to,
But it wasn't just a meme,
create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
And his running mate practically admitting it is all a fabrication.
That's right. That's 100% true fact, not made up at all to get you into voting a certain way. They're out here eating cats and dogs. It's mass hysteria. Hell, all these childless cat ladies, I'm looking at you, Taylor Swift, all these childless cat ladies, they're not lonely. They're just hungry. That's their problem. What kind of monster calls the animal control van a food truck? Huh? What kind of monster walks past a dog park and has their mouth just start watering? Huh? What kind of monster looks at the puppy bowl like it's the tank at Red Lobster? Whatever happened to dogs being boys and cats being girls? Just the other day, somebody was like, who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? And I turned around and I was like, well, that's got to be a cat in it. And it was a dog. And I said, they're not doing what I think they're doing. Yes, they were. They're sending all these cats and dogs to obedience school and they're turning them trans. That's what they're doing. They're teaching them sit, stay, them, and they. That's what they're doing. It's all 100% true, not made up to get you to vote a certain way. And I'll stand by that no matter what, because I'll eat a lot of things, but crow ain't one of them.
Comedian Brent Terhune shows how to mock these idiots with his takes on various issues, including...
Now, we've known for decades our planet is warming, that we would start seeing the brutal effects. But conservatives remain so deep in their denial, they're flailing around for anyone or anything else to blame. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is now like a big mover and shaker in the Republican Party, is promoting a bizarre conspiracy theory about a mysterious they, you can imagine who that is, controlling the weather, suggesting that they are sending hurricanes to Republican areas to impact the election. Like someone is sitting at some computer somewhere pressing hurricane.
It's Jewish people. She's saying Jewish people without actually saying and typing Jewish people.
Look at this. Storm the Capitol. Barbie was right once again. Surprise, surprise. They are controlling the weather. And for the record, the only pronouns I recognize are they and them, because that's who's doing everything out here. They and them are the biggest bunch of stupid, brainwashed idiots / evil genius political masterminds, and they're controlling the weather. You know, the other day somebody said it was cloudy with a chance of meatballs. I said, who do they got working the weather machine down there? Chef Boyardee? I mean, who do you think made it rain on Alanis Morissette's wedding day? It was Dave Coulier in the Full House with a weather machine. You know, somebody said it was raining cats and dogs. I said, I believe it. They're probably feeding the people in Springfield. That's what they're doing. And the bottom line is, I'd rather believe all that than acknowledge that there are real problems in our world. Bad stuff just doesn't happen. It's got to be manufactured. I can't comprehend it. Everything's a conspiracy, and I find joy in nothing.
Quite honestly, this is so well done because it's a grand display of what the party is. Denialism.
A Florida school district has pulled 176 books from its libraries to comply with the new state education reform law championed by Governor Ron DeSantis.
Without a diverse variety of books that represent my students, I can't get them interested in books. Here's my book, Prison.
Let's not forget the book bans, led by Moms for Liberty and DeSantis himself. Well, Brent didn't.
So I just seen on Fox News that they're out here trying to ban certain books, and I say, good, ban the books. Those things are dangerous. New ideas, new thoughts, alternative perspectives making me feel all uncomfortable. And God forbid somebody walks into a school with a book and they start reading out loud. Do you really want that ink on your hands? Just think about how scared the children must feel when they're doing all kinds of active reader drills. Tell me that's not traumatizing. And I know what you bibliophiles are thinking. Oh, we don't need less books, we need more. The only way to stop a bad guy with a book is a good guy with a book. Well, good luck with that. Let's say somebody goes to read up a school, and you think you're quick draw LeVar Burton over here, but oh no, you're fiddling with the zipper on your fanny pack and you can't get your book out. And next thing you know, the guy reads off 2 or 3 pages and you start to take in new world views and feel uncomfortable. Ban the books now. At least the autobiographical ones and the semi-autobiographical ones. It's too easy to just walk in any old book fair and walk out with the stack of them. We need background checks. What are you going to do with them books, huh? Think? I don't think so.
The irony. The sheer irony of living in this country where a firearm has more freedom than a book in some states.
Now, I would call her up here to come and speak, but then I think I'd have to sleep on the couch tonight, so I'll leave her alone.
Speaking of...
What on flat earth is going on? Because look at this. This is disgusting. To say this about my vice president, J.D. Vance. You think it's funny to say every time he makes love, he finds a quarter, 2 Skittles, and a remote. You think that's funny. You think it's funny that you can't put a couch out for heavy trash day without J.D. rolling by thinking she's a hooker. Talking about, damn girl, where you going with all that cushion just double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, just hella. Look at you. Couch me outside. How about that? I think it's funny to say that when he was a kid, he would pound off to the Sears catalog. And by Sears catalog, I mean the furniture section. And by when he was a kid, I mean today.
10 out of 10 jokes. No notes, brother. Please check out more of Brent's content on his YouTube channel, which can be found at Brent Terhune, his Facebook page under the same name for more clips and updates, on Twitter, which is honestly where I first discovered him, on Instagram as well, and head to brentcomedy.com to see where he will be, because it might just be in a town near you.
Here. We are going to get out the vote. We are going to win this race on Tuesday. We're going to get more school choice. We're going to get more, we're going to get critical race theory out of our schools. We are absolutely going to do better for our young people. And so, guys, let's say here, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, Oklahoma.
The clown you all just heard talking is Ryan Walters, the Oklahoma State Superintendent overseeing more than 1,700 public schools in the state, who also appointed Libs of TikTok bigot Chaya Raychick to a state library advisory committee, despite her living in the state of New York and having no credentials to do so. And the more you look into what this sad excuse for an educator believes in and advocates for, you will understand why Oklahoma consistently ranks as one of the most poorly operated state public education systems in the country.
What's your stance on this idea that no flags, only the American flag? How should schools look at it, and what's your stance in Oklahoma?
Hey, look, we're not going to tolerate this anti-Americanism. We've seen it being pushed by the Biden administration, by the teachers' unions, by the radical left. We're not tolerating it in our schools. We want patriots. We want our students flying the American flag. We need more patriotism. We have seen our schools become leftist indoctrination mills, pushing hatred for country. That's not going to happen in Oklahoma. Our kids will understand what made this country the greatest country in the history of the world. We will not allow the teachers' unions to indoctrinate our kids. We won't allow Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to continue to push that narrative into our schools. Our schools will teach Americanism.
A real journalist would follow up here and ask Walters what teaching Americanism encompasses and looks like in practice. But we're all smart enough to know that Walters and conservative media outlet Fox News are just looking for a soundbite to appease their audience, not a historically accurate, true definition of everything the term Americanism could entail.
My next guest actually labeled the teachers union in Oklahoma a terrorist organization.
They were willing to jeopardize our student learning in order to get more money and more power. That's what they're all about. Now in our state, they're pushing pornography in schools. They're pushing this radical gender theory in our schools, and they're fighting school choice. The biggest problem they have is putting parents in charge of their kids' education, and I'm not going to back down to this woke mob.
Yes, of course, because any random Oklahoma parent is better qualified to teach children than the certified educators who literally pursued higher education solely to learn how to teach children effectively. The normalization and celebration of pure ignorance in American culture will be studied for decades to come, because to anyone not blinded by right-wing culture war propaganda, Walter sounds like someone who should have no power over the education of our future generations.
We're trying to teach real history. The left has weaponized the government against Christianity, against the Bible, saying you can't talk about the Bible when you talk about the Pilgrims. When you talk about that our rights are endowed by us by our Creator, as Thomas Jefferson said, you're supposed to strip those things out of our history. Well, look, the left doesn't have to agree. They can be offended by it, but they cannot rewrite our history. Our kids are going to understand the role the Bible played in American history.
The irony of Walter saying Oklahoma will teach real history just before saying that the left is persecuting Christians is not lost on us, but you should really be focused on this.
The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country. The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country. We also find major points in history that refer to the Bible, that reference the Bible, which is that every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom to ensure that this historical understanding is there for every student in the state of Oklahoma.
You heard that right. Separation of church and state and historical facts be damned, because Walters and people like him just can't stand having their narrow worldview challenged. There are, and have been, plenty of ways to teach about the Bible's historical impact on our country in a secular, fact-based manner, but we all know that couldn't be further away from the goal of this mandate and others we've seen nationwide. Walters and his fellow Christian nationalists' true objective is to erode public education and trust in teachers as much as possible, to not only push more parents into for-profit charter and private schools, but to crush any sort of power and leverage teachers as unions still have. In doing so, charter and private schools can keep teacher wages criminally low and increase profit margins as more and more students abandon public schools. Parents' rights, school choice, woke teachers, Marxist indoctrination, weaponizing government against Christians, and every other talking point you've heard about public education are just smoke screens masking their real motivations, maximizing profit.
This Bible is the King James Version and also includes our founding father documents. Yes, the Constitution, which I'm fighting for every single day, very hard, to keep Americans protected. Also, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance are all part of this. God bless the USA Bible, and it's just very important and very important to me. I want to have a lot of people have it. You have to have it for your heart, for your soul. All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Christians are under siege. We must protect content that is pro-God. We love God, and we have to protect anything that is pro-God. We must defend God in the public square and not allow the media or the left-wing groups to silence, censor, or discriminate against us. We have to bring Christianity back into our lives and back into what will be again a great nation.
And speaking of maximizing profit at the expense of others, regardless of the circumstances, Donald Trump is in line to take home hundreds of thousands of dollars in Oklahoma taxpayer money if Ryan Walters gets his way, because he is trying to reportedly order 55,000 Trump Bibles to be put in every classroom in the state of Oklahoma in an egregious transfer of wealth from taxpayers to Donald Trump's pockets. Conveniently, the only two Bibles that match Walters' very strict criteria were the Lee Greenwood Trump Collaborative Bible and another similar, more expensive Bible backed by Don Jr. If the plan goes through and Walters is permitted to buy the Trump Bible, the state will spend around $3.3 million, with Trump getting a cut of all sales. Think about that. And just for comparison, you could buy a paperback version of the Bible for less than $5, and teachers could easily access free Bible apps or simply look up specific verses online. But that wouldn't allow Walters to gain personal favor with Donald Trump like his proposed deal would. Remember, it's always about the money, not about the future of the country. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
And I didn't need Beyonce and Jay-Z. And I didn't need little Bruce Springsteen and all of these.
If some of these wackos came along, these liberal singers said, actually vote for me. They all vote for me. They say, oh, Trump, I don't know. Like Bruce Springsteen. We have a much bigger crowd than Bruce Springsteen, right? Much bigger. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Donald Trump and the legendary Bruce Springsteen have been beefing ever since the boss refused to kiss the ring and saw Trump for exactly who he is and the beliefs he represents.
This is a man whose vision is limited to little beyond himself, who has the profound lack of decency that would allow him to prioritize his own interests and ego before American democracy itself. Somebody who'd be willing to damage our long-cherished and admired system, rather than look to himself for the reasons behind his own epic failure. That's unforgivable.
Springsteen saw the writing on the wall all the way back in 2016 and, knowingly or not, called his shot about the end of the Trump administration with him in his inner circle, willing to throw away whatever slivers of democracy we have left to keep their jobs and their dear leader in power.
A lot of people are very concerned about the direction of the country.
It's just frightening. We're living in a frightening time. The stewardship of the nation has been thrown away to somebody who doesn't have a clue as to what that means. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we have somebody who I feel doesn't have a grasp of the deep meaning of what it means to be an American.
Nothing is more inherently un-American than trying to topple our already flimsy democratic system to appoint a God King figure as the leader of the country. For the party that campaigns on love for country and openly embraces all forms of nationalism, you would think that they would at least stand for one of the only redeemable values imposed by the Founding Fathers. But you're smarter than that and know that Republicans use patriotism, akin to religion, as a weapon to manipulate voters to vote against their material interests, something Springsteen recognizes as well.
He's really preyed upon that part of the country because he gives these very glib and superficial answers to very, very entrenched and very difficult problems. But they're answers that sound pretty good if you've struggled for the past 20 or 30 years. So
you can understand his appeal.
Yeah, I can understand that somebody with simple answers to very complicated questions who sound like they're listening to you for the first time.
And this is how figures like Trump rise to power. They deliberately target the fears, anxieties, and insecurities already present in the voting bloc he's trying to capture and offer lofty, unrealistic solutions to these problems when in reality, no one's life is materially improving. But since they're being told by someone, they trust that things are getting better, they go along with it and refuse to grapple with the reality of the situation. which is why Trump and this newest rendition of the Republican Party is such a threat to our country.
And he's such a flagrant, toxic narcissist that he wants to take down the entire democratic system with him if he goes. If he could reflect on these things, maybe he'd have, but he's such an unreflective person. And he simply has no sense of decency and no sense of responsibility about him. And the words that he's been using over the past several weeks really are an attack on the entire democratic process.
And is that dangerous?
Yeah, it is. I think it's very dangerous.
Let's turn now to the present day with this announcement from Springsteen.
Perhaps not since the Civil War has this great country felt as politically, spiritually, and emotionally divided as it does then at this moment. It doesn't have to be this way. Freedom, social justice, equal opportunity, the right to be and love who you want. These are the things that make America great. Donald Trump is the most dangerous candidate for president in my lifetime. His disdain for the sanctity of our Constitution, the sanctity of democracy, the sanctity of the rule of law, and the sanctity of the peaceful transfer of power should disqualify him from the office of president ever again.
If we were living in a properly functioning country and didn't have a solid third of the population living in an alternate reality, Trump and his enablers wouldn't be allowed anywhere near the Oval ever again. But that's not the America we live in. And with the way things are going now, we may never see that version of America come to fruition unless we keep up the fight and continue pushing back.
He doesn't understand the meaning of this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American. On the other hand, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are committed to a vision of this country that respects and includes everyone, regardless of class, religion, race, your political point of view, or sexual identity. And they want to grow our economy in a way that benefits all, not just a few like me on top. That's the vision of America I've been consistently writing about for 55 years.
The Harris-Walz ticket is far from an ideal nom, and we think it's a serious misstep for the campaign not to build off of the progressive momentum that Tim Walz brought to the table instead of pivoting hard to the center and adopting right-wing positions. The fact still remains that Trump and the Republicans are the biggest threats to our country's survival, and even if Springsteen's endorsement doesn't move the needle with voters, it says a lot that someone as wealthy and influential as him has seen this coming all along.
I don't know, Bruce Springsteen's pretty convincing to some people.
Couple of things. A, I can't think of anything I care about less than some moron celebrity. B, we got Hulk Hogan, and that's all I need. It's fine.
Okay, you call him moron celebrity. He's performed
Kid Rock would be offended.
80 concerts in Pennsylvania. He's not like some out-of-touch LA celebrity.
I don't care.
Right?
I legitimately don't care because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris ran the country into the ground. I want directionally a center-right government, and I don't give a crap what some celebrity thinks about it who's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He's not affected by their policies. But working people in Kentucky do care about it, and that's where I live, and that's who I represent.
I agree with you, Scott, on that. I don't think these celebrity endorsements, I mean, maybe Taylor Swift moves it for people to register to vote.
If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Calling out elite people in comedy should be the rule of thumb.
I think Donald Trump's hair is actually another creature. Yeah. The hair's like going, good night, Donald. Good night, Donald. There we go.
Maybe it goes out. It goes out and makes money while he's asleep.
There is something about punching down that feels taboo, and punching up is the way to go.
Crack's not really my thing, but if it was, it would be fine if I was on that side.
Wow.
Don Jr.'s on coke.
We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated. I'm a very stable genius.
It is very important, the work that the Jordan Kleppers are doing, the work that the Good Liars are doing, the work that our team here at the Turks are doing, and many more.
What he does, he secretly puts the marker on the end of the putter, and then he looks like he's marking it, but really, now the mark is 3 feet closer. That's a way easier putt.
He cheats a lot. That if you cheat at golf, you cheat at life. The saying goes for Donald Trump.